Hey, hey. Do you get lonely? Let's talk about loneliness, guys. Let's talk about loneliness, feeling lonely. Now, I don't get lonely so much these days. Certainly felt pangs of loneliness in the past, and I know people that experience loneliness, and I know that there'll be a lot of people out there during this time of isolation in many cases and lockdowns and things that people might be feeling a sense of loneliness, feeling like they need others around, or they feel isolated and they don't like the sensation of being by themselves for extended periods of time. This isn't a typically big problem amongst introverts, so I'm speaking more, I suppose, in this case to extroverts who rely more on energy coming through interactions with other people, but of course this also applies to any one of us. Few little areas just to speak on that I think will be helpful for you. The first thing on loneliness is that when we are feeling lonely, in those moments we are believing the belief that other people are able to have an impact, an influence on our well-being. So when we feel lonely, we are in the belief that I need other people around me to feel better. So that's first worth acknowledging, is that this isn't actually true, that we do not need anyone around us to experience full self-worth, fullness, joy, satisfaction. We don't need other people, because everything about our experience in reality, as I have explained, and I know that it bears repeating over and over again, including for myself, everything in our experience is created through our own minds, through our own interpretations of what's going on. So we are living in the experience of our own limitations and our own stories, but we're also living in the experience of our own lack thereof. When we don't have the thought, when we aren't entertaining the idea that we need other people around us to be happy and to feel good and to feel satisfied, then we will be satisfied. That's not to say that relationships aren't an important and good and wholesome part of our lives, because they absolutely are. There is a synergy that happens when we interact and be and exchange information and ideas with other people, and we build things with other people. There is a co-creation in that, which is beautiful, and that's what life's all about. It's co-creating. So that's a great aspect of relationships. But when we're feeling lonely, it isn't that the lack of people around us is creating that. It is our interpretation of the situation that says I should be around other people. I should not be isolated. And we live, therefore, in the experience of that thought. The thought that says I should be somewhere else, I should be not so isolated, I shouldn't be alone, is going to colour our reality, and we're going to feel the result. We're going to feel the impact of that reality. We live in our own creation. So just knowing that you are whole and you have everything you need, with or without other people, but just on your own, you are already capable of being completely happy on your own. That is a relief for many. You know, you're not under the obligation to need to pine after people. You don't need to be in that. You can drop the thought. You are free to let go of that thought that is dictating your misery. And so there's freedom there. There's freedom just seeing that you don't need other people. You have everything you need. And other people do not have the power or the influence to raise or lower your self-esteem and your sense of self-worth. That's been really helpful for me. The other thing about loneliness, and I'm trying to remember what I was thinking about before. Give me a moment while we enjoy the mountains. Loneliness. Okay, so we've established that there is no influence that other people can have on our well-being, and that's really powerful. Our own thinking that we are lonely is at the heart of our feeling of loneliness. That's a huge distinction to make, is just the power that our own thoughts have on ourselves and our emotional experience. Now, you might argue, and you might agree with the idea that feeling lonely is an emotional experience in the same way that being bored, feeling frustrated, feeling angry is also an emotional experience. And they all have one thing in common. All of these modes of experiencing emotion that are not particularly... there's a guy chatting over there, and he is making the most of his loneliness. I love how there's always an example in my vicinity that proves the beauty of some of these points. I'm not saying that I'm so wonderful because I've come up with a great point, but it really aligns well. You know, you can be in total joy and be on your own. And when we think that things are not good, and you must be able to see that, it's all interpretation, it's all subjective. I should be somewhere else. That's a thought. That's a negative thought. I shouldn't be here. Things aren't going well for me. I should have more friends. I shouldn't be isolated like this. That's going to inform your emotional experience. And whether we're talking about boredom or loneliness or sadness or guilt or depression even, or anxiety or insecurity, they are all guided by how we're thinking at that moment. And the beauty is that we have control to a degree in how we experience our realities, because we can not necessarily change our thoughts, but we can let go and we can turn away from constantly feeling the obligation to buy into our thoughts. So many of us who feel lonely, we might have a thought that comes up that says, oh, you should be with other people. And we can either just say, all right, well, I appreciate the thought, you can bugger off now. Or you might go, oh my God, that's true. I've got to take this really seriously. Maybe I am too lonely. Maybe I haven't been meeting enough people. Maybe there is something wrong with me. Maybe there is something that I'm lacking. Blah, 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 blah. Welcome rumination. Goodbye common sense. You will start to feel the impact of that rumination. So that's really important. Just seeing how our thoughts guide our own experience and how we have a say. We have some degree of control in our... And when I say control, I'm talking about letting go. Like, it's a different sort of control. We can choose to let go of those thoughts. The other thing that I just want to close with that I think is also useful is... Man, I've forgotten this one as well. I've got to be careful here. Don't want to waste you guys' time. But the third point on this that I think is really good, and I just had it a second ago. We've talked about thoughts. We've talked about how people cannot influence our sense of worth. The other thing that I have found really helpful is in seeing that feeling lonely and feeling bored and feeling frustrated, they're all states of reactivity. These are all states in which we are reacting to things happening to us. We're reacting to our thoughts. We're reacting. We're not in action mode. We're not taking responsibility. We are victims. We are kind of at the mercy of our chaotic world. We see something and we have a judgment on it, and we're affected by that, and we feel small and we feel sad. And if I'm being honest, you're being a loser in those moments, and you got to snap out of it. That's not to be harsh. I'm doing this in a sort of empowering way. We have that power. We can say, you know what, I am being a victim. I'm going to be blunt with myself. I got to snap out of this. And you can turn that around in an instant when you realize, okay, I'm being reactive. I'm at the mercy of my surroundings. I'm being a victim. I can turn that around and I can create. I can choose to create. Reacting is the opposite of creating, and they contain exactly the same arrangement of letters in a slightly different arrangement. Reactivity, creativity. Choose, if you're being reactive, to be creative. Choose to write something, choose to make something, build something. Put yourself in the position of a responsible human being who isn't a victim, who doesn't think that he's constantly lonely and isn't feeling sorry for yourself. Creativity is the cure. Make something cool and you'll see your loneliness float away. Hope that helped, guys. Make sure you subscribe, because you don't want to miss these wonders, these useful videos. I hope they're useful. I mean, again, like I use this as a mirror for me, just to kind of remind myself of the important things. And I don't always get it right, but I hope this was useful. And if you agree with the ideas here, do smash that like button, and do send me a DM if you want to speak with me about any challenges or any goals that you're looking to create in your life. I'd love to talk to you about those. Happy to speak through some of those, and do share this with anyone that you think might benefit. And as always, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.